For years, people have been clamoring for Microsoft's response to SteamOS on the Steam Deck. And with the introduction of the Asus ROG Xbox Ally X.
That third X, also for Xbox.
With a lot of X's in that name. Microsoft has come out and said, hey, look, this is the Xbox UI you've been waiting for. But the question I had is it really?
Is this the statement we've been hoping for?
Is this what we've been hoping for? So in this video, I want to go over 6 categories that I think Microsoft needed to address to get it closer to the SteamOS, Steam Deck experience that people know and love. I'm gonna go run over them real quick.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into each one of them. The first one I think is setup. The second one is navigation, which includes not only getting around the interface, but also the front end experience.
Okay.
The third one is updates. The fourth one is what we think of as Windows bloat.
Okay.
The fifth one is sleeping and waking, and the sixth one is price. So the first one, let's start off with setup.
Yeah.
Arguably not very important because you're
hopefully
gonna do it once,
yeah.
Best case scenario. But listen, one of the things that people love about the SteamOS experience is that it just boots up. You don't have to go into the Linux desktop.
Yeah.
You don't have to create user accounts. You just sign, you scan a little barcode kind of thing and boom, you're in.
Yeah.
It's super easy.
And like people love the Windows setup experience too. It's nice to be like, hey, do you need Office? Do you need Game Pass? What about something else, some other service I haven't even considered that they could probably try to sell me?
Not only that, on a handheld device, you can't use the controls when you're going through that experience.
What?
So you either would have to use the touchscreen or you would have to plug in a mouse and keyboard and go through all that setup process. So luckily, this is actually an area where it is improved.
Okay.
You can go through almost all of the process with the controls.
Almost
all of the
That's bad.
Well, I mean, there were a couple scenarios. One of them where I had to use the touchscreen was the pin. I was able to put in the pin with the controls because they map the different like numpad stuff to different parts of the control.
This is your personally identifying number?
Yeah. But then to hit next, I wasn't able to hit next. So I had to hit that one next on the touchscreen. Not a huge deal, and then the last one was when it said, oh, hey, could you consider subscribing to Game Pass? I wasn't actually able to go past that with the A button.
At any point, had you already subscribed to Game Pass?
No, I do not subscribe to Game Pass.
Okay, so at any point did it say, hey, it's cool that you're paying for Office, would you good job?
This is a normal Windows 11 setup experience.
So you got that. You got that.
Yeah, you got everything. So they didn't address that, but I got once again I was able to get through almost all of the setup process with just the key.
I feel like they could do better. I feel like you got to do better, Microsoft.
They could definitely do better.
Yeah.
They could definitely do better, but arguably, it's not a huge part. You go through it once.
This impacts reviewers a lot because we end up installing Windows all the time. But normal human beings, probably not so much.
Well, but also you would think, one of the things people equate this to is a console-like experience.
Yeah. If
you're calling this an Xbox and it is a more of a console-like experience, that setup process does not leave a good beginning taste in your mouth.
So you have Windows set up. I assume it doesn't have like the Steam or Epic stores or any of the other stores you might want pre-installed. So you have to set up all that stuff next, right?
Yeah, so let's get into the navigation part of this. And yeah, you're presented with the Xbox front end. Now, a lot of people have seen this. They've showed it off in demos in a lot of different ways. And you can download the brand new Xbox app right now on any of your
You got to be an insider
devices.
or something, right?
No,
Oh, no.
Actually, it's rolling out to the public.
Oh,
yeah, so
wow.
they integrated Steam support. So you have to go in and click on the Steam thing and kind of like sign in and all that kind of stuff.
Or whatever.
So it works a little bit differently on the handheld than the desktop, but essentially like it was already there. Okay. So I went to the place where it said library. There was a tab for applications, and they had Epic Games, Steam,
Battle.net,
Ubisoft, Battle.net, all that kind of stuff. So it was easy just to hit it.
Okay.
Steam launched. I was able to sign in Steam. Boom. Actually, interesting enough, Steam launched in big picture mode, which I thought was actually kind of interesting. I don't know if that's because of this effort or something.
I wonder.
It was kind of nice. So
big picture mode, also kind of handheld mode at this point, right?
Yes, and that's what I prefer too.
Yeah.
Actually, on these handhelds, for the most part, I just launch into Steam big
controller
picture mode.
first interface, basically.
And also, usually firing up the original Xbox Ally X you would be presented with the default, which was the Armory Crate software. Now, the Armory Crate software still exists on here, but it by default launches into the Xbox Big Picture mode.
That seems
you
like an
can go in
improvement.
the Armory Crate, and actually it did pop up the Armory Crate, which was pre-installed to download updates and stuff like that. We're going to talk about updates in a little bit.
I love updates.
Yeah.
My favorite.
But essentially, it was a pretty straightforward experience, and for the most part, I was able to get around in that Xbox experience purely with the gamepad.
Okay.
Once again, there was a couple times where I was like, it either lost focus or the button didn't work, or I didn't know where the selection was. So I was like, wait, where am I going? I'm just gonna hit this real quick and be recentered. I will say from the movement around, just like the setup process, we're talking about like 95% I was able to use the controllers.
Okay.
And that's not only navigating the Xbox app. If you long press the Xbox button, you get up to the task viewer kind of thing, and I was able to get around that easy, and go to the different
Doing
windows.
the installers, could you use the buttons for that, or did you have to do the touchscreen?
Well, for the Steam one, like I went to go install, it popped up after installing, popped up the QR code thing, so I scanned it with my phone. So,
But it didn't have any. You didn't have to hit like next in the installer with the touchscreen, right?
no,
Okay.
not with that one. So I mean, better. It's a better experience for sure. But,
Incrementally better.
yeah, and it is nice that you launch into that Xbox front end. It's fairly well designed. Not like I wouldn't call this on par with SteamOS or even like the Steam Big Picture mode.
Okay.
Like it still feels like a desktop version of the Xbox app that is able to take over full screen. The last thing I want to mention about navigation is unfortunately a major problem.
Oh.
And this is something I think a lot of people were worried about, and unfortunately it came to bear. So when you go into the Xbox app and you look at the games that you have in your Xbox library,
Yeah.
I have a lot of games. Not a ton. Not like
from
my
all
Steam
generations,
library.
right?
Yeah, I have some older games from like 360, that were like run in back compat mode.
Yeah.
I have some newer games, all that kind of stuff. The problem is that when you then toggle installable, that game list gets cut significantly. So I had a lot of games in my Xbox library that I could not install on this device.
But that's an Xbox.
You would think so, right?
So where's the line?
Unfortunately, I actually don't know that line. I'm very confused. So navigation-wise, everything else we've talked about, it's been way better. It's been a better experience to navigate, to go through. Yeah, there are hiccups. Sometimes I need to use the touchscreen. Sometimes a game doesn't full screen, all that kind of stuff. But this is a big one.
I mean, look.
This is a big problem.
If it's, when you're talking about the Steam Deck, it's a relatively inexpensive computer. Like, I'm willing to make some cuts, some sacrifices in the things that I can play on that. Because I knew that it was like, before the tariff situation, it was like $400, $500. It wasn't like I was buying a $1,000, $1,500 device to play games on.
Well, and you knew clearly if a game didn't play on this, it was probably because of the anti-cheat, right? And
it says in Steam.
Yeah.
It's like, this won't work on your Steam Deck.
So Microsoft does have a program that they're hoping to launch sometime soon where it'll say that it's, I can't remember the nomenclature, but it's essentially like a Steam Deck verified program where it says, hey, it's installable or not.
I'm hoping that they sell enough of these that they go ahead and do that, because like that feels real bad.
Yeah, it was really weird and very confusing.
That feels like a thing on a device that is made for normal people who want to play the Xbox games, that it should be a launch feature rather than a, hey, we're going to roll this out in the future.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of people ask like, hey, is this an Xbox? Is this a console? And it's like, well, if you can't play your Xbox games on this.
I have KOTOR, which is the Xbox 360 backwards compatibility version from the original Xbox One, which will play on my Series S. Yeah. Does it play on this? I don't know. I kind of want to find out.
I don't know. Yeah. So let's move over to another thing, which I think is a major fail, and that's updates.
There's the OS.
Yep.
And there's the games.
True.
And they can update independently of each other. And sometimes the OS updates, and you can let it sit for a while, and then the games will keep updating.
Yeah.
And sometimes you update like you can choose when you want to update either of those two things.
And when you update the system, it updates everything on the
drivers, OS, Steam, all the stuff gets updated at the same time. It's really
All the
nice.
stuff gets
It's convenient and easy.
Yeah, so that was one of the big question marks for me on this. Is like, okay, this is still Windows at the end of the day. Yes, it's a full screen launched experience, but this is still Windows.
But on my Xbox, it works the same way. I load up my Xbox Series S, it's like, hey, there's an update. You need to do that before you do anything else. I hit the update button, it updates it. And then sometimes it downloads updates for games. It's very easy, it's very simple. There's no like complexity. I don't have to like download video card drivers or update Windows and the Xbox app and the game separately. So this is gonna be like the Xbox, right?
Unfortunately, no. Nothing has changed. Like the Xbox app still needs to get updated in the Microsoft Store. Armory Crate has updates for the Xbox or for the Ally. But not only that, my Asus has critical updates that are not deployed through the Armory Crate. So essentially you have like 4 different places to get
Plus games.
Yeah, well, and then the games. Well, here's the other problem. Once again, by default, I did not have Steam launch when I would turn on the device.
Oh, so when you turn on to launch a game, it has to update the game half the time.
And not only that, if I was downloading a game or updating a game from the Microsoft Store, it didn't realize that I was playing a game from the Steam Store. So like there was a time where I was playing, I was like, man, performance is horrible on this. And then I thumbed over and I realized that it was updating Forza Horizon or whatever in the background.
So it was doing like big compression tasks.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Which just doesn't happen on the Steam Deck. Like it knows. Yes, you can force it to say, hey, download and update while the game, but by default, it doesn't do that.
And just to be clear, on the Xbox, if you're playing a multiplayer game, it won't download stuff in the background. It knows.
Yeah.
Because it's an Xbox, and it only runs Xbox games. There's no Steam Store, no Epic Store.
I mean, I don't know how they could get around it, and they never came out and said, oh, hey, we're simplifying the updating process. So, but either way, it's one of those things that is done right here that is not done right here.
Okay, well, you gotta have some good news for me.
Yeah, well, the next one is what we think of as bloat, Windows bloat. Now it comes in 2 factors. Number 1 is like pre-installed software. You know, the pop-ups is saying, oh, hey, have you subscribed to Game Pass? All that kind of stuff.
Have you considered signing up for Office, which you're already paying for?
Yeah. The other one is
Good job.
performance.
Yeah.
In terms of Carrie at the Fox has done some really good testing showing that in Windows it has a hard time knowing where to send the TDP. It's either going to give more juice to the CPU when it is starving the GPU, all that kind of stuff.
And there's some RAM limited stuff that happens too on 16 gig machines. And
so there's 2 different bloat things. Number 1, the first one is Windows. And guess what? It's still Windows. It still has the solitaire pre-configured. It still has everything. All the notification pop-ups.
Installed?
Teams is installed. OneDrive installed. Everything's installed. This is a normal piece of Windows.
Fantastic.
And it has suppressed some of the notifications.
Okay.
This is a launching into a front-end experience that negates some of that back-end stuff.
But didn't they talk about turning off some of the background processes and stuff when it's in the full UI?
Yes, and it theoretically it does.
Okay.
So yeah, you can go out to the normal thing or in the normal desktop. If you want to go back into the full screen experience, it gives you 2 options. It says, hey, for best performance, we recommend you restart so that we kill all the processes we don't need.
Okay.
Or you could go into the thing, but just know that this stuff is still going to be running in the background. So most of the time, I would just restart. The restart takes a little while, so it wasn't like a seamless situation, but I wanted the best performance. So I was like, okay, let's move over to the Windows or the performance part of it. And I did some very basic testing. I'm not going to sit here and run a ton of benchmarks, but I was expecting to see, okay, in the Xbox UI, we should theoretically get better performance than in the Windows UI. Also, I looked into the CPU boost checkmark, because usually in the past, for older generations, you would want to turn that off because you would want less TDP going to the CPU.
Yeah.
So I tested that as well. So let's run through some.
And just to be clear, this is the Z2 Extreme model, right?
Yes, this is the Z2 Extreme model. This original Ally X is the Z1 Extreme model.
That X is not for Xbox. This is pre-Xbox.
Yeah, it's pre-Xbox. I also include the Steam Deck OLED and the Legion Go 2 with the Z2 Extreme in it.
So same APU in the Legion Go, bigger screen.
Exactly, yeah. And theoretically better cooling, whatever, there's a different setup in there. But, I mean, those are just to throw them in there. I wanted something to compare against, but really what we're trying to look here is the difference between the score of the Xbox UI and the Windows UI. Okay. So I ran some tests. First up is synthetic tests. This first one is Steel Nomad Lite. So 3D Mark touts this as being like, hey, this is newer DirectX 12 games that have some more intensive features, maybe a little bit of ray tracing, stuff like that. This is the light version made for more APU-based systems, thin and light laptops, things like that. And yeah, actually, the score was a little bit better on the Windows version than inside the full Xbox UI version. Whatever. I mean, it's not a huge difference, so it didn't bug me. And we are pretty much right in line with the Z2E on the Legion Go.
Steam Deck obviously doesn't run this.
So 3D Mark doesn't work on Linux, so I wasn't able to get that score. The 3D Mark Solar Bay. So now this is a really light ray tracing test. I mean, these systems aren't meant to do really heavy ray tracing, but it runs through to test some really light stuff, spits out a score. And once again, between the Xbox UI version and the Windows version, we're not seeing any difference here. The last one I ran was a tried and true DX12 benchmark, TimeSpy.
Love TimeSpy.
Yeah. Real simple benchmark, been around for a long time. So it spits out a couple things. It spits out the overall score, the GPU score, and the CPU score. So we're really just gonna look at the overall score. I mean, all of them are in the same realm, and surprisingly not that far in front of the Z1 Extreme. Once again, TimeSpy is a really old benchmark, so like you're gonna get good performance on all that stuff. Also, maybe you've noticed the settings up here. I have the max TDP on all the systems. The Windows 25H2 on the Windows-based systems, not the Steam Deck, of course. The Windows performance profile, so not balance, but performance, so the max performance. I manually set the VRAM on all these to 8 gigabytes. So let's move over to some actual games. The first one, tried and true, Cyberpunk 2077. This is with the Steam Deck preset, but I changed it over to FSR3 and I manually set it to quality instead of auto, and using no frame gen. All of these are running at the native resolution of their panels. So so the Legion Go 2 actually has a little bit of higher resolution. The Steam Deck OLED has lower, but it doesn't matter. What we're looking for here is the performance difference between the Xbox UI and full fat Windows.
Which has the same screen.
It's the exact same piece of hardware. It's just one is in the full screen Xbox experience, one is in Windows, running other background processes, and no difference. So I was like, what the heck?
This isn't really a ringing endorsement of this device, Adam.
Horizon Zero Dawn, same exact thing. No difference between the Xbox UI and the full Windows experience. Last game I ran, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, same exact thing. We actually do get one FPS higher.
Margin there,
so bigger bar better, but So I don't know. It was really weird. Maybe I was testing wrong. It could have been that.
It's possible.
Maybe by having such a limited test case scenario, maybe I'm not seeing outliers or something like that. But maybe it could have been the way I have things configured. Maybe if I had the VRAM limit set to auto instead of 8,
or 4
maybe
gigs,
if I wasn't running at the max TDP, maybe I was running at a more 17 watt performance profile. So there's definitely different ways to test it. Today, when the embargo drops, there's going to be people testing it all over the place. So I'm curious to see if anyone else did see stuff. But in my testing, I saw nothing. And I think there's a reason for it.
It's not really a ringing endorsement of the work that Microsoft did to make this Xbox app suitable for the handheld.
So I think the thing is that I am testing this highest end Z2 Extreme version with 24 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
We're not hitting a scenario in any of these games where we're getting VRAM limited, or I'm not running stuff in the background
that's eating
that
the
it's
RAM,
going to be eating into the RAM. So my guess right now is that the lower end devices that only have 16 gigs, they do have an Xbox Ally X that has a Z2A version, so essentially a real low end APU. I bet it makes more of a difference there. But if you're going for the the most expensive one, you're not really seeing a performance, or I wasn't seeing a performance difference between the Xbox UI and the Windows UI. So a little weird. I expected to see something. I saw nothing. So who knows? I want to watch more of the videos out there.
You're
today.
curious.
Yeah,
you're curious about embargo drop as is everybody else.
Exactly. The last testing that I did was a curious one, because I mentioned earlier that a lot of times on my APU-based systems, I would turn off CPU boost to make sure that the GPU is getting more of the TDP. So I went back and actually ran all of the same benchmarks, But now with the CPU boost off, in Steel Nomad Lite, well, we get a little bit better performance, whatever. Yeah. In Solar Bay, we actually do get a nice performance on that with the CPU off, or the boost off. In 3D Mark Time Spy, that longer bar, this is the CPU score, so of course you're going to get less, and you would think, oh, this might push up the GPU score. It actually didn't,
not really,
unfortunately. But that's also because of the way that Time Spy tests, it has a separate test for each thing. So you're like, it's not having to fight for
well,
it.
and if it's CPU bound, then turning down the CPU perf is going to cause speed.
Exactly, yeah. In the games, however, I actually did see a little bit of improvement on Cyberpunk.
So that's a 4% improvement. Yeah, that's not too shabby.
Horizon Zero Dawn, pretty much nothing, even though we did get a little bit of a boost on the Z1 Extreme from last gen. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider, just a little bit of performance boost, but not a ton. So the CPU boosting stuff, I mean, I think Windows has done a lot of scheduling work to try to mitigate, giving too much juice to the CPU. It's not perfect. I would probably leave the CPU boost off personally, because like, at least in the scenarios I'm testing, I'm seeing a little bit of performance gain on that, and you don't really need the CPU to clock up that high on this. The configuration is a little bit different on these devices.
In terms of the cooling package?
The CPU generations and the number of P cores versus, or big cores versus C cores, whatever. So a little bit different there. But that is it for performance. I mean, the Z2 Extreme, very performant over the Z1 Extreme for sure, but I'm not seeing a huge difference between the Xbox UI and the Windows UI, and that's kind of a bummer.
It's you'd hope, given the kind of hype around this and the focus from Microsoft on this product, that it would have a little bit more delivered. But maybe Windows is good. Who knew?
No, once again, I think it's the VRAM limitation, or the RAM limitation. If it probably makes more of a difference on the lower end devices. I did not get that seeded for review. I just got this one seeded, so we'll have to see. Let's move over to another major point that a lot of people point to say, hey, wow, why can't Windows perform like this on the Steam Deck? And that is sleeping and waking.
Oh, the warm bag test.
Yeah. On the Steam Deck, you hit that button.
It just goes to sleep. You hit it again, it wakes up.
And it wakes up, and you're right back in the game.
It plays the video, you're right back where you left off.
Actually, I turned that off. I don't like watching the video.
I have a random carousel of them.
There's been a couple times where it has not come back, the exact way that I left it, or maybe the hour counter.
Sometimes the game crashes.
Yeah, so it's not perfect, but it is really good, and it is leagues ahead of what has been on Windows devices in the past.
Oh yeah,
like to the point where the way I use these Windows-based handhelds is that when I'm done with them for the night, I turn them off.
Like shut down.
All the way, I shut down the device. I'm kind of weird. I do that with my laptops too. I'm somebody that likes to shut down devices at the end of the day.
See, I'm always be sleeping, and I just hit the little red button on top of the Steam Deck and it goes to sleep. I hit the little black button on top of the Windows handhelds, and it's been a wild card in the past. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. How did the new one work?
Still the same problems.
Windows still bad at sleeping.
Yeah, I actually noticed mostly on this system, and this is running pre-release of the Xbox app. Sure, I will give them that.
But Windows is just Windows.
Windows is just Windows. Half the time I would hit the button, and then I would listen and be like, oh no, the screen would go black, but I could still hear the sound of the game in the background. It was still running the game. So like, yeah, and Asus does have stuff in their Armory crate to try to mitigate like a deeper sleep and things like that, but it did not kick in for me. I honestly, I didn't even try to really futz around with it too much, because I was like, you know what, this is this nowhere near what happens on the Steam Deck or the Switch or any other normal handheld device. So yeah, unfortunately, they did not fix that one.
It's bad enough when it's your laptop and you get on the plane and you pull your laptop out and your bag's hot and you're like, oh wow, I have 18% battery left. But on a handheld, like it's weird. The shape of the device matters, right? Like when it looks like a game console, when it looks like a Switch or a 3DS or whatever, I expect it to sleep and wake up like a real, like those devices do. This has been a problem for a decade now. Get with it, Microsoft.
I mean, this is a problem that they need to fundamentally address in Windows proper, let alone the whole Xbox UI app thing. So like, I think this is just a bigger thing.
It's just Windows is going to Windows.
Yeah. So the last major bullet to go over here is the price.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are saying, hey, the Steam Deck There's a reason why it's the de facto handheld right now. It's because that price is very entry level.
Well,
and sure, Valve is probably able to sell this at a loss or break even or whatever because they know that.
I don't think they're selling anything at a loss, but they know
true.
they know the attach rate for games on Steam, and they're looking at it and like, well, no margin in this. I mean, the good thing is a device with some compromises. You know, I take it at a discounted price and call it a win, right?
Yeah. Well, so I would say this is a discounted price. At least this top end Z2 Extreme version over comparable hardware with the same chipset. So either the Z2 Extreme that's in the Legion Go or the HX370, which is more or less the same performant chip in some of these handheld devices. And the pricing is better than that. I don't know this for sure. I've heard on the back end that that they were trying to get the price to a little bit better of a spot. And I think maybe they did that by having Microsoft subsidize some of this cost. I don't know for sure, but if you know, this is, I believe, a cheaper device overall compared to the other devices.
So
in this
like $300-400?
Yeah, to the tune of that. Like, yeah, if you compare any other device that has this kind of chipset, you're talking about that. But it still is $1,000. Yeah. So
I knew that already, but
yeah,
it's really
you already knew that. So the thing is that it's double what a Steam Deck is. A Steam Deck is a different experience. This is Windows. Like you could use this as a daily driver. You could have no other computer in your house. You know, hook this up to a monitor. So
dock the whole thing.
all of that same thing applies. And some people are like, actually want Windows. You know, they want to play games that have DRM, things like this, that it just does not work on the Steam Deck. So I'm not here to say, oh, Windows bad, SteamOS good on the pricing stuff. But if you're a consumer and you're sitting there looking at the models on the shelf, you know, like, what are you getting for that price difference? You actually are getting some substantial stuff, but like, yeah, this is not something that I think Microsoft can come out and be like, oh, it's just like our console, you know, where it's a kind of a fixed cost and we can subsidize it and it is what it is. But console prices are creeping
They're really
up too.
expensive too.
But still, this is more than the top of the line Xbox Series X. So
I mean, it does have a screen. You have to hook a TV up to that Xbox.
True, I guess if you think about it, that good point. So the price isn't just on Microsoft though. It is also the hardware, so it is Asus. And I do want to go over the hardware because the hardware is a little bit different compared to the previous generation. For the most part though, it's the same thing. Same exact screen, same exact layout. The shape of it is very similar. There's some, you know, really, really small details that have changed that I appreciate. Like they actually swapped the select start button with the overlay, the Armored Create overlay, which always bugged the hell out of me because the select start is on the top there.
So you have to reach to get the ones that you use in games
exactly.
and the ones you use to control the device.
So they finally flipped that.
That's good. That's
here.
a good change.
That is nice. Obviously, it's got the Xbox button, all that kind of stuff. The bigger change really is the grips. And to tell you the truth, I'm kind of torn on this. I was talking with my colleague Mike Kreider, who actually went to an Asus event to check this out. You know, he felt like he liked it and that it felt like an Xbox controller, which I agree with. But for my end, I never had a problem with the ergonomics of this one. Is it the most ergonomic one? No. Yeah. But I never had an issue with ergonomics on this one. Not only that, because of the way that it was designed, it was one of the easiest devices of all these to put in a backpack because it was so thin. It didn't have horribly jutting out, you know, stuff like that. And this is now the worst because this has these grips on it.
And they look like they catch on everything.
Yeah, so this is really, like, I don't have the official, packaging or the carrying case to put it in, so I don't know what that looks like.
Well, it comes with it, right?
No, it does not come with it. Yeah, it doesn't come with it.
Steam Deck comes with one.
Yeah, well, so it does not come with it, and so putting it in a bag, it's just, I don't know, whatever. I think most people would want better ergonomics over portability. Yeah. So I understand that, but it does change things a little bit. Ergonomics-wise,
it feels nice in the hand.
Oh, it feels really nice.
Yeah.
This feels really nice to the point where I wish this were on the Legion Go 2 because that is a heavy device. Yeah. And that I mean, they've upgraded their ergonomics for sure over the first iteration. Go back and watch the review video of this one, but on such a small, light device, I feel like it's kind of lost.
Oh, I mean, I disagree. Like better ergonomics, I'm always going to be on team better ergonomics, right?
Microsoft says that they feel like their Xbox customers really care about having this ergonomic designs, ergonomic grips. I would also say that Microsoft customers probably care about having their library transfer over.
Yeah,
and being able to install
that seems like an important feature.
So, you know.
What about, is the rumble the same in both of these?
The rumble is the same. I did have an issue with the bottom right-hand rumble where...
The rumble in these, there's a small motor and a big motor, right?
Exactly, yeah. Small motor up top, big motor down below. I was playing a game a couple nights ago. Unfortunately, I didn't get any footage of this. I was playing a game and all of a sudden I heard like a... And I was like, whoa, what was that? And I thought maybe the sound was up, and I turned the sound down, and I kept playing. Oh, I was playing Forza, and yeah, it just I just heard like a, and I was like, whoa, I don't know what that is. So I went in the armory crate, and you can like adjust the percentage slider, and so every other slider sounded normal except for that bottom right one. It like the motor, something was off with it. It seems to have worked itself out now. So
that's always what I'm hoping for in a $1,000 device.
Yeah, I did reach out to the reviewer, the PR person, saying like, you know what, I might have an issue on this device. Something to look out for, but I don't know. That it might have been.
Seems like it fixed itself. Maybe it's Forza. Maybe you
had
it, because they do the profiles thing where sometimes some of the cars go vroom vroom and some go vroom vroom.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been in both. Like it was only in one, not the other. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe it was just Forza.
Yeah.
So who knows? All in all, if we're gonna wrap this up, my hopes of Microsoft really addressing Windows and coming out with something that is like just gonna be really made for handhelds was already pretty low coming into this. I actually didn't think that Microsoft was, gonna really knock it out of the park. And yeah, for the most part, this is exactly what I expected. There were other people that were thinking that Microsoft really fixed this whole thing. They really went for it. I am not in that camp. I think they still have a long ways to go in a lot of key ways. Yes, certain things have been fixed. The navigation, the UI, that really helps. But when you can't install your own apps in the library of what you own, it's very confusing, and I don't appreciate that.
And like it would be one thing if it didn't let you install, say, Xbox 360 apps, which use a different architecture and stuff like that, right?
I
get that.
Yeah.
But not having a way to tell you in the store that you're not going to be able to run the thing that you're buying feels really, really bad to me.
Yep.
And yeah, that I don't know, it feels like it was a little bit early maybe.
So here's the thing. I have said for a while, I actually think what we are doing are being the beta testers for what the next Xbox console is going to be. That I think they're taking this experience, we're the beta testers, we're seeing how it works, see where it doesn't work, and this is what's going to be on the next Xbox console. I don't know for sure, but this very much feels still like a beta kind of rollout.
Here's my last question.
Yep.
If I want to run my own software on the Xbox, I can't. Could you put Bloat on this?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's literally
just a Windows PC.
It's, literally the same chipset.
There you go. Let Microsoft subsidize your Bloat PC.
Yeah. So ultimately, listen, when I had no problem using Windows on this device, I was not one of those people who were like, oh, wow, I hate using the touchscreen and stuff like that. I felt like I was a defender for it. I know how to operate Windows. I know how to configure it the way I want to. I know how to use the touchscreen. Yes, the SteamOS is better, but I never had a problem with this. What I'm talking about here is the experience of using it, not only on this device, but any other Windows-based device. And so, yes, there are things that they got better here than what I'm used to, yes. But where they set the bar and where they tried to say, hey, we're gonna come out and address all these things, they did not overshoot.
Yeah, they're limboing instead of high jumping.
So they're in the right direction. Microsoft has went in the right direction. I appreciate that, but you have a long way to go still. They have a long way to go.
It's been a long road, Adam.
Yeah. So anyway, if you have any questions specifically about this device, get down in the description. Let me know, because there's probably a lot of questions about this and a lot of things I didn't get to. But these are the most important things that I think needed to be addressed. While you're down there, subscribe to PCWorld for more awesome handheld coverage. Thanks everybody for watching, and check out this next video about the Legion Go 2. This one was a really good one over here.